Hello YouTube, Robert Alvarez, the Psychic Witch, also known as Mr. Lighting and a Fan. Today I have gone from being hot and cold to cold and hot to cold. I had the fan on a few minutes ago and then I turned it off because I was cold. And it's, today is one of those Indian summer days. So I was dressed as if it was genuinely 52 degrees Fahrenheit, and discovered that it was a lot warmer than that, or at least it felt a lot warmer than that. But anyway, so one of the newest people to whom I've subscribed, I'll say subscribees, is Witchy GayBoy. And we've been having some really great comments back and forth, and he mentioned having a connection to Isis. And, as somebody who considers Isis his celestial mother, it makes sense that I would, know the sacred story of Isis and Osiris. But before I get to that, I want to tell you a little bit more about me. So, my name is Robert. My name is Robert Alvarez, the Psychic Witch. I live in New Jersey, not too far away from Midtown Manhattan in NYC. I'm a lot of things. I'm a professional psychic, professional metaphysical teacher, professional energy healing practitioner, and I also have a side position of employment. It's funny how I always get an itch on my feet when I do these videos. I'm going to need to look up feet in Louise L. Hayes' Heal Your Body. Anyway, so I have a side position of employment as well that I've had since 2010. However, since September of 2014, last year, it's been more full-time than part-time. I'm not used to it yet because, with this position of employment, and especially since last September, I've been more part-time the first 2 weeks of the month, and I've been more full-time the last 2 weeks of the month. So, it's an adjustment, because the last time I held a full-time position of employment was June 2001. So I'm not used to it. I'm just not. But, I prepare myself and do what I need to do and all that other good stuff. So anyway, and of course, with regards to my professional psychic practice, September through December is the busiest time of the year for me. So I knew that if I did not do this video in honor of Witchy GayBoy, and as a way of just expressing solidarity with a fellow gay male witch, then I knew that I would not have time to do it until probably next month, November, or December, or January of next year, or even February of next year. So I'm like, you know what, let me do it tonight. Quite frankly, I'm well aware that one of the traditional Capricorn characteristics is procrastination. So, and especially since what I call my divinely orchestrated stroke, which was back in August of 2012, if I have the thought to do something, I do it. I don't put it off, because every time I put it off, well, not every time, but most of the times that I've put it off, it's created more problems for me. It's actually created problems as opposed to prevented problems. So I'm like, you know what? It's after midnight. I don't care. I'm wide awake. I will go to bed at some point, preferably before 3 a.m. And I don't have anything major to do tomorrow. Tomorrow night I'm participating in a refresher tarot class, which I'm looking forward to. But anyway, so I wanted to talk about Isis and Osiris. So Isis is the ancient Egyptian goddess of magic, prophecy. She is also the ancient Egyptian goddess of healing, of psychic development, of witchcraft, of the moon, and specifically she is a full moon goddess. The ancient Egyptian name for her, among others, is Oset, which is also pronounced Auset. She's also known as Ast. And her sacred lover, who is also her holy husband, her blessed brother, and her divine consort, which is one of my favorite terms, is Osiris, whom the ancient Egyptians called Osar, or Oser. or Ausar. And Osiris is, he's technically Isis is a multifunctional goddess, meaning that she has many different attributes. And technically so is Osiris. Osiris is god of the afterlife, or rather the ancient Egyptian god of the afterlife, but he is also the ancient Egyptian god that's connected to the land of Egypt, and specifically as an agricultural god. However, based on the books that I've read about ancient Egypt and the sacred stories of the ancient Egyptians, Osiris was the ancient Egyptian god of agriculture before their brother Set slayed him, or killed him, or assassinated him, whatever term you want to use. So I want to show you an image of Isis. This is from the Goddesses and Sirens Oracle cards by Stacy DeMarco, illustrated by Jimmy Manton. There is my celestial mother in her glory. And this is an image of her holding Osiris. Never saw him with blue skin before, and I find it fascinating. This is from the Gods and Titans Oracle cards, which was also created by Stacy DeMarco and also illustrated by Jimmy Manton. Jimmy Manton's illustrations are not everybody's cup of tea. They're very unusual, but I happen to like them, so there you go. Anyway, so Isis would be considered the queen of the gods in the ancient Egyptian pantheon, or the Kemetic pantheon. Kemetic relates to the word Kemet, or Al-Kemet, which is the ancient Egyptian name for ancient Egypt. And Osiris is her twin flame, her divine consort. Whenever a goddess or a god has a sacred lover, he or she is referred to as that deity's divine consort. I have loved that phrase forever. And it's a phrase that I first discovered, I want to say that I first discovered it in one of my favorite goddess books, which is entitled The Goddess's Guide to Love by Margie Lapanja. However, I have a vague recollection of encountering the phrase divine consort in Invoke the Goddess by Calatrava. So Isis and Osiris are twin souls, they're twin flames. They were destined to be together forever. And unfortunately, Set, their brother, became very jealous of Osiris because he was gorgeous and popular, and he was beloved by all the people of ancient Egypt, and he was successful, and he brought blessings and gifts and miracles to the land of Black Earth, which is one of the translations of Al-Kemet. And so Set decided, you know what, I'm going to kill this motherfucker. And so he did. However, Isis, being so in love with him and so devoted to Osiris, she looked for him, she searched for him, and she found him. And then Set flew into this furious, jealous rage. And then he was like, you know what, this time I'm going to kill this motherfucker the right way. And so had him dismembered and cut up into 14 different pieces. Now, I have yet to discover the specific symbolism of 14 with regards to Osiris, because I know that in the sacred tarot, Trump 14 is called the Temperance card, and that's the card that is astrologically linked to the sun sign Sagittarius, and it corresponds to, or rather, it traditionally depicts Archangel Michael, also known as Saint Michael. But with regards to specifically Osiris, I'm not sure what 14 represents. So what Isis did was she did what anybody in love with another person would do. She searched for this divine consort, this twin flame. And she found all of him except for his penis. But Isis, being the mistress of magic, she took a piece of gold and fashioned a phallus, a princely, beautiful phallus. And once that phallus was in place, she mated with him. And through their sacred union, they conceived Heru, more commonly known as Horus. One of Horus's titles, one of my favorite of his titles, is Falcon of the Skies. And Horus has been referred to as the Avenger and as the Golden Child. And essentially, that after that conception and after that birth, that's when Osiris needed to go to the afterlife. One of the most beautiful parts of their divine love story is that when Isis searched for Osiris, especially after Set slayed and dismembered him and cut him up into 14 different pieces, she talked to him. She talked to her beloved. She talked to her beloved and said whatever she said. You know, I can only... I mean, part of me wants to say that I can only speculate, but as a sacred son of Oset, which is one of Isis's ancient Egyptian names, I think I can safely say what she said to him. I miss you. I love you. I long for you. Oh, as I'm saying this. Yeah, I'd forgotten how those words affect me. And as somebody that has had more than his fair share of heartbreak and disillusionment and romance, I can relate to longing for one's love, especially when one's love is not present in one's life. Ooh, that really hit home. Anyway, so she talked to him, and she refused to give up on him, and eventually they were together again. And it's funny because one of my favorite goddess authors is Chris Walter, and she is the creatrix and the illustratrix of the Goddess Tarot, but she also created another tarot deck, and it's been a while since I've used it, which is why I'm blanking out on the name. But this is gonna piss me off. I'm gonna put it in the comments as to what the name of the deck is. But I remember being beautifully surprised when I discovered that in this other tarot deck that she created, she placed Isis and Osiris on the Lovers card, and I was half expecting Venus and Mars, Aphrodite and Adonis, Romeo and Juliet. So when I saw Isis and Osiris, I was just like, oh wow. And it never occurred to me. It was so funny because I'm like, it just never occurred to me to see Isis and Osiris on the Lovers card of a tarot deck. Anyway, but in the meantime, they continue to be together, and there is a star called Sirius, whom the ancient Egyptians referred to as Sopdet, and that is where Isis and Osiris live. Some sources say that is where they shall go when they are fully reunited. It's one could say that it's their heavens, although in the ancient Egyptian cosmology it would be the Duat. It's that divine place of the goddesses and gods of the Nichiru, which is the collective name for the goddesses and gods of ancient Egypt. I love pantheons that have a collective name for their deities. For the Orishas of Lukumi, the religion that's more commonly known as Santeria, they're referred to as the Orishas. In Voodoo, it's Loa, which I was pronouncing Loa, and they were like, no, Robert, it's Loa. I'm like, thank you. See, I mispronounce things every once in a while. So, yeah, so I'm going to hold up this card because, this is a good indication that love never dies. And it's so funny that I'm saying that because, earlier today I met with a good friend who's been using my psychic services since September 2001. She is an ongoing client, an ongoing student, but she's also become a good friend over the years. And earlier today, we had met with the executrix of the estate of one of our mutual friends. And I'm going to mention that friend's name because she was somebody that truly encouraged me and gave me some incredibly beautiful compliments shortly after I became a professional metaphysical teacher. In fact, I first met this friend during my very first tarot course, which was a beginner's level tarot course. Her name was Phyllis Rhoda Weprin. She was a speech therapist, she was an actress, she was a director, she was a writer, she was a published author, she was a certified Voyager tarot consultant. She was also a graduate of the tarot school in New York City. She was a lovely lady, she was a beautiful friend, she was a wonderful client, and a lovely student. And when someone tells me that he or she wants to become a professional psychic, I tend to be harder on them, or rather harder on him or her. And I remember it was the last class of my very first beginner's level tarot course, and I remember I was shouting at Phyllis. And what I was shouting at her was, "You're meant to be a professional psychic. Why do you keep resisting that?" And she was doing this. And I'm looking at her like, "Don't do that." I didn't say that to her, by the way. But I was just thinking that, like, don't do that. You want to do this professionally. Why resist it? So we were in Phyllis's former apartment, because she's deceased and she no longer lives there, at least not physically. And I didn't realize how taxing it was on me. Plus, you know, I have welcomed my mediumship abilities in the last year or so. And, you know, I was actually joking about it earlier today with somebody that I met at the bus stop. And I remember I was saying to this woman, I said to her, you know, I always find it funny how the spirits of the dead want to, like, joke with me. You know, when I'm ignoring them too much, they'll put a dead bird in my path, or a dead cat, or another dead animal, or some chicken bones from KFC, or whatever restaurant those chicken bones came from. And they're like, you see, dead people. We're saying, hello, Robert. Wake up, bitch. You know. So yeah. So I'm not anywhere near developed in my mediumship as, let's say, John Edwards or the late Sylvia Brown. But, you know, the dead talk to me. I still remember one time I was walking by a cemetery, and this was a few years ago, but I remember I was running late. I was running way late, way behind schedule with regards to meeting with a client, and I remember I was walking by the cemetery. I was like, pss, pss, pss. I'm like, no, I don't have time for fuck that. I am running behind schedule. I don't have time. And they're like, Robert. I'm like, no. I don't have time for you. I am sorry. I will get back to you. I never did. Which is why sometimes the spirits of the dead harass me. All of a sudden, I could be here reading a book. All of a sudden, something falls down. And I'm like, okay, I see 3 cats and all of them are asleep. And I'm like, okay, so none of those 3 cats dropped that thing. And of course, the thing that's dropped is never in the same room I am. No. You know, I could be here in my living room, and something will drop in my bedroom. And I'm like, okay. You know, and unfortunately, I have watched too many horror movies in the past. So it's sort of like, oh my God. You know, I got way off topic, and I do apologize. You know, it's been an interesting day, and I just realized something. After leaving the apartment of somebody who was deceased, I did not do the Florida water thing. Florida water is wonderful, by the way. I love Florida water. So, just to finish up my... Oh, that feels good. To finish up my video about Isis and Osiris. So, one of the things that one can call upon for help with... Let me say that differently. So, let's say that you want to know what to call upon Isis for. So let's say that you want to develop your psychic abilities. You want to develop your magical abilities. You want to learn a system of divination. You want to connect more deeply with the ancient Egyptian pantheon. So Isis is a great goddess to call upon for that. One of my personal favorite books about Isis is called Isis Magic, and it was written by M. Isadora Forrest. She also wrote another book called Offerings to Isis. And, of course, there's The Mysteries of Isis by DeTracy Regula, which is, I don't believe it's in print anymore, but if you go to half.com, you should be able to find a copy that is not above $300. Although, lately I've been noticing half.com's prices have been, like, some of the sellers are charging exorbitant amounts of money for for a book or something that's no longer in print, and I'm like, really? You have to charge $400 for this? Why? So, and of course, one of my personal favorite crystals is Moonstone. And remember, because Isis is a full moon goddess, you can certainly use Moonstone to connect with her, or any white gemstone or crystal. Of course, traditionally, lapis lazuli or lapis lazuli and carnelian, which the ancients call the blood of Isis, are great crystals to use to connect with her. There is also a crystal that I discovered this past May when I went back to New Hope, Pennsylvania. It's called Eye of Isis. And based on a visual observation of it, it looks like a sacred marriage of jasper, red jasper, snowflake obsidian, and something else. I was divinely guided to give my Eye of Isis crystal to Isis herself. So, and I gave it to her in somebody else's, it's on somebody else's altar now. So it's not like I can just, walk out the door and go to that person's apartment and say, hey, I want to look at the Eye of Isis gemstone, so do you mind? Not like that. But it's a beautiful crystal, and it certainly looks like an eye. And of course, when I saw that, and of course, what I loved is that, Broceliande, who is the owner of, she's the owner of Gypsy Heaven, the witch shop of New Hope. She is also a divine daughter of Isis. She is also somebody that is a sacred child of Isis. So she and I have that in common in that Oset, Isis is our celestial mother. Anyway, so those are two crystals to use that you can connect more deeply with Isis. Now, with regards to Osiris, Osiris really, for me, is a god of delving deep within. Going deeper within oneself, and also finding or creating, if necessary, the courage to close one door and open another. So if you're feeling disconnected from yourself or with yourself, you can certainly call on Osiris, or Isis for that matter, to help you delve deeper within yourself than you think is possible, and really go deep, deep, deep within. And it's like, okay, I'm going to go deeper than I've ever gone before. And again, this is intuitive. I've never read this in any book, but I'm just getting intuitively. This is, calling on Osiris is also wonderful for finding the courage or manifesting the courage, if it's not present in your life, to close one door and then open another. And you can do one and then the other, or one and after, wait for a period of time and then do the other. So let's say that you feel like you need to close a door in your life, whether it's your professional life, your personal life, whatever. You can call upon Osiris and say, Osiris, give me the strength to close that door. Help me see that this no longer serves my needs, and that it will benefit me enormously to close this door. And he will do that. Because of Osiris's connection to both the land as an agriculture and the afterlife, I keep seeing the color black with him. So I would say black crystals, like black onyx, black obsidian, black tourmaline. And black tourmaline I happen to love just because it's one of the most powerful psychic self-defense protecting crystals there is. and of course, people tend to associate black with agriculture and black with the afterlife. You can also work with a dark brown crystal. I keep seeing mahogany. I think it's mahogany obsidian, and it's this red-brown, like sienna-colored with black. So that's another crystal that I'm intuitively getting to use to connect more deeply with Osiris. I hope you enjoyed this video. I got a little off track and off topic, and I apologize for that. Please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please feel free to write any comments or any questions in the comments. If you want to add any information, please feel free. Although the ancient Egyptian pantheon is my primary pantheon, I cannot say with any degree of honesty that I know everything there is to know about every ancient Egyptian goddess and god. And I look forward to learning more about them. That's actually one of the reasons why I learn and willing to learn about them, because it's my primary pantheon. I'm always surprised when I talk to people whose primary pantheon is the ancient Greek pantheon or the Hellenic pantheon, and I'm telling them something about one of their goddesses and gods, and I'm like, don't you know this? But then I realized, well, maybe I was meant to tell this person whose primary pantheon is the ancient Greek pantheon about this particular goddess or god. And it's so ironic, because the Greek pantheon is neither my primary nor my secondary nor my tertiary pantheon, and yet I do have an affinity with several Greek goddesses and gods. Because I'm a sun sign Capricorn, I've often referred to Pan as the divine father of all Capricorns. And I do find myself spending more time with Aphrodite lately. As a witch, I definitely have a very close kinship with Hecate, who also loves gay men, who also loves the outcast and those that prophesy and those that read tarot cards and use divinatory devices, and Queen of the Witches, Queen of the Bitches. So I happen to love Hecate. She and I had a chat after I cut the right finger of my right hand. Excuse me, the right little finger of my right hand. And I said to her, you know what? I do revere you, but I'm kind of sick and tired of giving you blood sacrifices. So could you tell me what you want me to give you so that you don't take my blood again? And she told me. So I already know what I'm going to be doing at a crossroads, and what offerings to give, and that should appease her. I hope it appeases her, because it's actually 3 in a row. One month, one the next month, and one the following month. So, but yeah, so I'm basically saying, okay, this is for you, so please, no more blood. Don't take any more of my blood, please. Because every time she takes my blood, it's always because of pain. The cut in my right little finger was painful. It hurt like a bitch. So, and I'm dripping blood over here, and I'm like, and I knew instinctively who it was. I knew it was Hecate. I'm like, oh, okay, another blood sacrifice. So I've gotten to the point where it's like, okay, now I'm going to give you offerings on a regular basis, so you tell me what you want, and you tell me when you want them. And she did. She told me what she wanted, and then she added something else, and then she told me which 3 dates between now and the end of the year she wanted them. And I said, okay. And mind you, I'm somebody that is a bit fanatical with things to-do lists, but I have these dates memorized. They're like tattooed on my gray matter. And the offerings, I know exactly what she wants, I know exactly what I'm giving her, and I know exactly where I'm giving it to her. And when. Midnight, of course. But anyway, so with that being said, I would like to wish all of you many blessings. Thank you for watching this video, and feel free to subscribe. Feel free to submit comments. Personally, if you click like or dislike, that's nice. Thank you. I'm not big on likes or dislikes. It's like whatever. If you love the video, I'd rather you say I love the video than click like. I have a thing about likes, and it's a Facebook-inspired thing. People click like on Facebook automatically and unconsciously. But that's another video, and I'm not gonna. And honestly, I'd rather not talk about Facebook, because Facebook is nothing that's gonna make me happy or give me peace or empower me. I'd rather talk about my favorite goddesses and gods, my favorite sacred tools. Those things empower me. Those things make me happy. Those things give me peace. But in any event, I wish you all a beautiful night, a wonderful weekend, many blessings to you and yours, and I will see you soon. Bye.